Hello again, people of YouTubes. Today I'll be reviewing a game that I've wanted to do a proper review of for a very long time, but didn't really know how to get decent quality footage of it since it's a Nintendo DS game, and for me, recording it from a hand cam would not do the game justice. So, I loaded a ROM into an emulator and captured footage that way. I may do more DS reviews through this method provided I can find save files to be able to show off all the features that I'd want to. Anyways, this is an incredibly awesome game called Dragon Quest IX. A positive feature you'll notice right from the beginning is the fact that in this Dragon Quest you can create your own hero's look, choosing from sex, size, hairstyles, and more. Almost like it were an MMO. And what's more, down the line when it comes time to recruit other party members, you can customize them as well. This is a feature most traditional Japanese-style RPGs lack, that I appreciate. You start the game off as a guardian angel of sorts, tasked with the goal of defending and providing aid to a village called Angel Falls. As you aid the villagers, you gather this stuff called benevolescence. And even though certain events bring you down to earth, so to speak, this collecting goal is a common theme throughout the majority of the game. Basically, the way the game is set up story-wise is kind of like a series of connected short stories. Each town you travel to has its own little storyline that you have to help resolve that ultimately puts you one step closer to your own goals. I quite enjoyed this method of storytelling as it makes each area have more personality. That's enough about story though. I don't want to ruin it for any of you. Let's move on to gameplay mechanics. As you can see here, combat is pretty standard turn-based fare. Every few levels you will gain skill points that you can freely distribute to various skills. The game employs a vocation system similar to previous Dragon Quest titles. In this game, stat bonuses earned through skill distribution carry over to other vocations, and like most games that use systems like this, if you know what you're doing and spend your points right, the game can become incredibly easy. However, it is quite far into the game before you can actually change your vocation. Another nice feature is that when you gain new equipment, it's actually displayed on your character. Again, like the character creation, this is a feature rarely seen in Japanese RPGs, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a first for the Dragon Quest series. Enemies on the world map and in dungeons can be seen and thus avoided, and they respawn as you move at regularly timed intervals depending on the camera's view. In some parts of the game, this can be used to your advantage to farm the desirable metal slimes. While out of combat, the top screen displays a nicely detailed map of the area you're in, and the bottom is used to move about. The game can be played entirely with or without a stylus. I prefer to play without. Like previous Dragon Quest titles, you will eventually gain access to Chimera Wings and the spell Zoom, which allow you to quickly travel around the world instead of having to hoof it everywhere. And of course other methods of travel such as ships exist as well. The game features a very robust item creation system known as alchemy. If you played Dragon Quest VIII, which I suggest you do, it's very similar to the system in that game, only greatly improved upon. Items are created instantly, whereas in 8 you had to run around and sometimes for very lengthy periods before you could obtain the results. Materials for crafting can be obtained from stores, monsters, and even from shining spots on the world map where they respawn over time. If you're a completionist, this game will take a long time, as in order to obtain the strongest weapons and armor in the game, you have to perform what's known as an alchemiracle, which depending on the item you're trying to make has varying low percent chance to occur. Should you not get the miracle, or alchemiracle, your very rare ingredients still get used up, and you have to farm more just to reset the item to its base and try again. It may sound like an evil system, but it certainly adds replay value. Kind of like playing Diablo 2 hoping to get super rare drops from bosses, and finally getting the item only to find its randomized stats are below what you were hoping for. One of my favorite features of the game are the grottos. These are what extend the game beyond the end of the story. They're basically randomized dungeons complete with treasure chests and bosses. In fact, it's these very bosses that drop the starting gear required to alchemize the best stuff in the game. The way it works is you will obtain a map that shows a zoomed in X depicting the location of the grotto. Find it and enter, and work your way through to the bottom. The amount of floors as well as the quality of the treasures and the possible end bosses and the enemies all depends on the map's name and level. When you beat the end boss, a randomized new map will be generated. Its quality is determined by the map you just completed as well as your level, so getting higher quality maps takes time. One of the coolest features, however, is that through the game's tag mode, you can give a copy of your maps to other people or receive them. There are a few rare maps out there that have some awesome stuff. For example, a map where one of the floors only spawns Metal King slimes. I actually have this map on my cartridge. There are also very special legacy maps that only have one floor, the boss floor, that contain unique bosses from previous games such as Dual Magus from Dragon Quest VIII. These bosses are different in that they start off at level 1, and when you defeat them, you're given the option of letting them level up, which makes them more difficult, but also increases their chances of dropping their fat loots. I really hope future Dragon Quest games carry this system over and improve upon it further, because it's really awesome. So that's pretty much it. As I said at the beginning of this video, I love this game. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's the best RPG available on the Nintendo DS, and the best in the Dragon Quest series. If you have any questions, drop a comment, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit those little buttons that say like and subscribe.